What up guys, Miguel here of Yugetech, and mid-range smartphones have been stealing much of the market for a while now, giving birth to subcategories like the premium mid-range segment. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a budget-friendly phone that packs a punch anyway? Right? So, in this smartphone comparison, we're putting two of the most recently released premium mid-rangers up against each other. On the polycarbonate corner, we have the Realme 3 Pro, and on the glass corner, it's the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE. Starting off with design. The Realme 3 Pro sports a unibody polycarbonate back. Our unit is in the lightning purple color, and I do think the gradient back here looks a little bit more refined compared to the standard Realme 3. Although, next to the glass back Mi 9 SE, it does look a little cheaper in comparison. The Mi 9 SE also gets an aluminum frame to seal the deal. It's very reminiscent of an iPhone in my opinion, and that isn't a bad thing. Both devices' camera modules are placed on the top left portion of the back. They also both share an accented camera, none of which are their primary modules. For the Realme 3 Pro, it's the depth sensor, and for the Mi 9 SE, it's the ultra-wide. You also get camera bumps on both devices. The Mi 9 SE's protrudes more, making it wobblier when laid flat on a table compared to the Realme 3 Pro. You also get a fingerprint scanner here on the back of the Realme 3 Pro with a gold accent surrounding it. The Mi 9 SE on the other hand gets an optical in-display fingerprint scanner. In front, both devices get a notch. They're both of the dewdrop design, and that's good, as it does look the most pleasing of all notch designs in my opinion. The call speakers on both devices can be found right above their respective notches, making it appear seamless with the top bezel. Sadly, no LED notification lights on either device. It's an end of an era. For buttons and ports, starting with the Realme 3 Pro, you get your volume buttons and dual SIM plus micro SD card tray on the left side, power button on the right, noise cancelling mic for loudspeaker up top, and lastly at the bottom you can find your 3.5mm audio jack, noise cancelling mic for regular calls, micro USB port, and a single downward firing speaker. For the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE, you can find your dual SIM card tray on the left side, no expandable storage here. The volume rocker and power button can be found on the right, an IR blaster and noise cancelling microphone for loudspeaker up top, and finally at the bottom, you get a USB Type-C port, noise cancelling mic for regular calls found in the left speaker grill, and a single downward firing speaker. So yes, design is subjective, but I'm going to have to give this one to the Mi 9 SE. I'll take the classier construction, Type-C port, and IR blaster for TVs over a polycarbonate back with, yes, a 3.5mm audio jack and a somewhat dated micro USB port any day. Moving to display. The Realme 3 Pro gets a 6.3-inch Full HD Plus IPS panel, while the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE gets a 5.97-inch Full HD Plus Super AMOLED one. Both displays get a screen resolution of 2340 by 1080, which means both devices are of the 19.5:9 aspect ratio nature. Both displays also come with Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so it's safe to say that they're both just as protected. Since the Mi 9 SE utilizes a Super AMOLED panel, you do also get an always-on display feature here that only works to check the time. No notifications for some reason. When it comes to media consumption, like I've said before, display is only half the story, especially if you don't want to be plugged in using earphones all the time. Not to mention, you'll be needing a dongle for the Mi 9 SE too. To be fair, that does come in its box. Alright, in terms of sound, it's going to be the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE. Audio coming from the single downward firing speaker just sounds more crisp compared to the Realme 3 Pros, making the Realme 3 Pro's respectable soundstage seem a bit more muffled. So yeah, good on them for not adding a 3.5mm audio jack. They apparently did not need it that much. So for display, I think it's pretty clear that the Mi 9 SE takes this one. Next up, performance. For hardware, the Realme 3 Pro is equipped with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 710 and an Adreno 616 GPU. The Mi 9 SE, on the other hand, gets a Qualcomm Snapdragon 712 and an Adreno 616 GPU as well. The Realme 3 Pro gets 2 RAM and storage options. That's either a 4GB of RAM plus 64GB of internal storage or 6GB of RAM plus 128GB of internal storage. The Mi 9 SE does get 2 variants as well, the only difference being storage. So you get 6GB of RAM plus either 64 or 128GB of internal storage. Being that there isn't any expandable storage on this device, you might want that higher storage option. Speaking of expandable storage, the Realme 3 Pro gets expandable storage of up to 256GB. For software, you get Android 9 Pie out of the box for both devices, and with each manufacturer sure user interface is skinned on top. That's ColorOS 6 for the Realme and MIUI 10.2 for the Xiaomi. Now, when it comes to navigating through each device's respectable interfaces, at first, I felt that the Realme 3 Pro was a bit snappier when it came to opening and closing apps. Only by around a millisecond though, so I suspected it was the MIUI animations. This was easily resolved by speeding up all the animations to 0.5x. When it came to day-to-day tasks and productivity work, both phones performed as they should and handled them like a breeze. In terms of benchmark scores, the Mi 9 SE has the Realme 3 Pro beat here, flashing them onto the screen now. Now, when it comes to battery, the Realme 3 Pro gets a bigger capacity in comparison. At 4045 mAh with a 20W VOOC 3.0 charging adapter in the box, and I just love it. It's fast and can get the phone juiced up from 10% to 100 in a little over an hour. The Xiaomi Mi 9 SE gets a smaller 3070 mAh battery capable of 18W fast charge. But in our standard video loop test, which entails the phone being at 50% brightness, 50% volume with the headphones plugged in and on airplane mode, the Realme 3 Pro yielded a respectable 12 hours and 44 minutes. The Mi 9 SE, on the other hand, lasted a whopping 17 hours and 10 minutes. This could be due to better software optimization on the Mi 9 SE's part, so that's wonderful. When it comes to biometrics, you get optical facial recognition on both devices, and they both do work pretty well. They probably aren't the most secure form of security though, and when lighting conditions can get tough, so can the recognition. Moving to fingerprint scanners, and well, the Realme 3 Pro's got the Mi 9 SE beat here in terms of speed. But it also isn't the fastest rear-mounted fingerprint scanner I've used. So yeah, for performance, I'm going to have to give this to the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE for outstanding hardware-software optimization and amazing battery life to boot. Moving on to the cameras. Starting with the rear, the Realme 3 Pro gets a dual camera setup composed of a 60MP main shooter with an aperture rating of f1.7 and a 5MP depth sensor. The Xiaomi Mi 9 SE, on the other hand, gets a triple camera setup that consists of a 48MP main shooter with an aperture rating of f1.8, a 13MP ultra-wide with an aperture rating of f2.4, and a 8MP telephoto with an aperture rating of f2.4. For the front-facing camera, you get a 25MP selfie shooter on the Realme and a 20MP sensor on the Xiaomi. Both front-facing cameras get an aperture rating of f2. Now, let's not dwell and dive right into those samples. So, in this first set of photos, I wanted to demonstrate the Mi 9 SE's ultra-wide in comparison to the Realme 3 Pro's standard 1x. As you can see, having an ultra-wide can be really nifty depending on certain situations. Next is 1x on both devices. As you can see, dynamic range is pretty much on par between both devices. The Realme 3 Pro also seems to sharpen its photo a bit more than the Mi 9 SE. Next up, 2x. This is optical for the Mi 9 SE and digital for the Realme 3 Pro. You lose more detail when zooming into the scene via the Realme 3 Pro, but I was surprised to see that at first glance, the difference really isn't that noticeable. In this next set, again in 1x, dynamic range is pretty much on par like I said. I'm focused on the building with construction going on. In terms of post-processing, the Realme 3 Pro seems to like oversaturating a lot more. In comparison, the Mi 9 SE looks more natural and flat, which actually makes it better if you like to edit your photos after the fact. This is what the shot looks like in both devices 2x. These are shots I took of Joey while sucking on his vape. It seems like on the Xiaomi device, Joey looks really pale in comparison to the Realme. I'm not quite sure if the Realme Pro's shot is just more saturated, but I do feel like none of them got the colors here perfect. Picture quality is quite nice though. In this next shot, you can really see now how both devices handle colors. Carl's shirt is green in the Realme 3 Pro's shot, while on the Mi 9 SE, it's gray. Although, the Realme device does have a less overexposed photo. Checking out portrait mode real quick in this shot of Ira. It seems that the Realme 3 Pro did a better job of separating her from the background. Again, not a fan of the oversaturation coming from the Realme 3 Pro's post-processing, but yeah. Moving to each device's respective night mode, these photos were taken on the default photo mode. This is with night mode turned on. As you can see, both photos brightened up here. The Mi 9 SE shot is more noisy and hazy compared to the Realme 3 Pro's shot. Here's another set starting off in the default photo mode. The jumbotrons are pretty much overexposed, and again, the Mi 9 SE's shot looks like it's got a haze going on. With night mode turned on here, I believe the Mi 9 SE did a better job compared to the Realme 3 Pro. It's not as contrasty as the Realme's shot, and the moon is still more overexposed in comparison, but I do prefer the Mi 9 SE's shot here. Moving to selfies, it's apparent that the Mi 9 SE has a beauty gate. I also like how the Realme 3 Pro kept the shadows on my face more evident cause contouring? I don't like how unnaturally saturated my face is though, but I do prefer it over the Mi 9 SE's shot. For portrait selfies, again, the Realme 3 Pro does a better job here, especially with subject background separation. The Mi 9 SE shot is also more overexposed in comparison. For video, both devices can shoot up to 4K at 30 frames per second and they both aren't that bad. They both produce very usable footage coming from a smartphone. The Realme 3 Pro's footage does seem a bit more stable as well. Alright, for cameras, I'm a bit torn. Both cameras can be a bit hit or miss with the portrait mode and night mode, and I don't think I like how the Mi 9 SE handles people's faces too much. I also don't like the oversaturation and not so accurate colors from the Realme 3 Pro. If I had to choose when it came to taking photos of cityscapes, I think the Mi 9 SE is triumphant. For people, it's going to be the Realme 3 Pro. But if I had to choose just one camera, it's going to have to be the Realme 3 Pro's camera. So to conclude this video, with the Realme 3 Pro, you get 2 RAM and storage options. That's the 6GB of RAM plus 128GB of internal storage variant priced at 14,990 pesos. And the 4GB of RAM plus 64GB of internal storage option priced at 12,990 pesos. With the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE, you get 2 storage options, either the 64GB or 128GB. Those are priced at 15,990 pesos and 17,990 pesos. The difference between both respective variants is 3,000 pesos. So the question is the amount of money worth dishing out for the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE? For me, yes it is. You get a subjectively better design, better performance, and a better display and audio. Yeah, you can argue that the Mi 9 SE's camera is a bit hit or miss, but I can confidently say the same thing for the Realme 3 Pro. So, which one do you prefer? The Realme 3 Pro or the Xiaomi Mi 9 SE? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of our future uploads. Be sure to visit ukitech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Miguel, and I'll see you in the next one.